Yeah. What's up, everybody? And welcome back to the Finest United podcast. I'm your host, Lenny Bradley, and I would like to welcome back PJ Ghadimi. Our last episode was on watch trading, featuring the Watch Trading Academy, and also a little bit about exotic car hacks, which are two different ways and different strategies where you could park your money in watches and you could park your money in cars in order to use that as an asset, enjoy them, make a little money from it, then move on to the next. Just as an alternative strategy to figure out how you could go about investing in different things and maintain your wealth, maintain the value of your money. And it was a great episode. If you didn't hear it, make sure you tap in. PJ, thank you for coming back.
I appreciate you having me back.
Absolutely. I really, really am happy to have you back again. You dropped so much knowledge, so much value in the last episode. And today I kind of wanted to get more into, being that we spoke about the watches and spoke about the cars and things like that, we touched a little bit about mindset as well. And this time around, I really wanted to dig a little bit more into the entrepreneurial aspect in finding your purpose, not just as an entrepreneur, but also as a human being. And just figuring out what you were put on this earth to do so that you can help others. And PJ, I see how it is that you run your courses. A lot of people may think, oh, he runs courses, he's just trying to make money. But I can say, me personally, with me being a part of your courses, once again, being involved in the Facebook groups and just speaking with you, you are genuinely trying to help people. You have staff. If you're not able to help people, you have staff that are willing to open their arms, answer any questions, and help them get ahead in life. What has enabled you to be that type of person?
So I want to kind of go back for a second to what you asked. Why are we here to help others? Why is that the dynamic of what a human life is for? Like, why was that in your introduction as what we are here for? I'm just curious.
The reason why is because I think a lot of people don't know what their purpose is. I think
why is helping others humanity's purpose?
Why is helping humanity part of purpose, you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying you said that we are here to help each other. I highly disagree with that statement. I'm just curious as to why you believe that.
The reason why is because in order for you to thrive, and in order for you to not just thrive, but it's not just about you, right?
But why is it not just about you? Everything the human race has done has been about itself, has been about self-preservation. Wars are started for self-preservation. People are killed for one person's survival. So like, why is the human race entangled in this idea that we exist to help one another? We can only thrive when we do. I can give you thousands of examples of very successful people who have never helped a damn soul in their life, and they're still been incredibly successful in their approach to anything. So the question is, why are we here? For helping each other. Why is that part of your understanding of your purpose? It involves anything about helping others. Like, I'm a teacher, right? I believe in teaching. I don't believe in helping others whatsoever. I put my teachings out there as part of my own legacy. That people choose to follow them or not is 100% up to them. I'll give you a perfect example. I've built one of the most successful teaching businesses in the United States. I mean, we do now almost $25 million in profit a year in my teaching business. And I do about 400 million in revenue in my other business, completely unrelated to it. In the size of things, for me, the teaching business is the most unvaluable aspect of my monetary career, right? Like, meaning that while it's a lot of money to some people, it's not to me. So what I'm asking is, why are we here to help others? Every time we try to help others, we end up hurting ourselves. So where is the angle that somewhere in our heads we stuck with this idea that humanity was here to love and help one another?
Well, I would have to say I'm a very spiritual person. So I'm gonna start with that and explaining from my circumstances and my beliefs. I truly believe that I'm a Christian.
So are you spiritual or religious? Those are different things.
I'm both.
Both. So how can you be both?
How can you be both?
Yes. Religion is a construct of order and a construct of prison. Spirituality is a construct of aspiration. So they can't both be. It's like saying I'm free, but I'm in debt. Like I'm financially free, but I'm in debt every day, and I just can't even take a shit without someone else knowing.
Well,
Like so.
From my perspective, what it is that I mean is when I say that I'm religious, I go to church. I follow a structure, but I don't say that this is the end all be all. As far as my spirituality, I combine the two. Right.
So you question your religion since you don't accept that it's an end all be all, but you still adhere to its construct of prison.
I don't see it like that.
I know, but I'm saying, how is it not? If you remove your emotion or your connection to your religion, how is it not? I'm just asking questions. I mean, I'm not here to put you on the spot. You're here to have a conversation about. You're here to have a conversation about awareness, self-awareness in the boot camp.
Right.
So this is why I'm having these questions with you, because
no, I mean,
a human being is the byproduct of his own capacity, and one of the biggest misconstructs about a human life is its misunderstanding of its own existence. So what I question, right? What I question is simply what you are saying yourself to yourself, not what you're saying to others. This isn't a question of if what you're saying is correct or inaccurate. There's no such thing as right and wrong in life. I'm just questioning your own value and belief system and why you've adopted it.
Yeah, the reason why I've adopted it is because I was raised in a church.
Right. So was it your value system or your parents' value system?
It started off as my parents' value system.
Okay. So did you know any other value systems? Have you intricately studied every religion that exists on earth?
No, I have not.
Okay. Have you at least studied 10?
Have I at least studied 10?
10 completely different religions than your own?
No, I have not.
Okay, so how do you know it's your own value system where you've just been given one and adopted it based on your own acceptance of it without questioning others?
Because I've been taught to have faith.
Right, but who told you who to have faith in? Your parents.
Right.
Right, and you've accepted that without ever questioning it.
Very true.
Right, so the question is, how do you know that that's your value system when your parents gave you one, you never questioned and accepted it? Isn't that their value system?
Well, because with them passing that torch along, with them instilling my spirituality in me, I've decided to go study the Bible more. And with me studying the Bible and with me reading the Bible, I feel that it fits my lifestyle. It's what it is that makes me feel comfortable when I wake up in the morning by studying it.
It's your acceptance of your parents' value system. What I'm saying is you've only developed an understanding of what you were told to do. It's no different than being in school and being told the only way you can be successful is to be a doctor. And you've never tried to do something else. And then you're like, well, I became a doctor. I just studied how to become a doctor because my dad was a doctor. And then you're like, well, I've always picked my own path. It's like, well, not really. You said you had to be a doctor. You went and became a doctor. You learned how to be a good doctor. Well, you never really picked your path. You just were given a path and you chose to accept it. So what I'm saying is, how is that? So how is that being free?
Because I choose to study it. Because I choose
to study, but you never chose to study something else. You've never expanded your horizon. You sat here last time and told me specifically on this call that people are very narrow-minded and view things a certain way. I opened your viewpoint with Watch Trading Academy, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Looking at watches from a different perspective. I can guarantee you, if we asked your parents what their thoughts were on watches, they wouldn't say they were an asset class to make money. They would have their own opinion, correct? Based on their own timeline of their own understanding.
Right.
So if we asked someone 600 years ago if they should burn people because they have different beliefs, they would say, oh, well, they were witches. We burned them because they believed in something we didn't. That same transcendence has been passed on through the years. The practice changed a little bit. The question is, why has that been adopted without being questioned? Same as people that say, well, watches are junk. They're just there to steal your money. They don't have any real value. I could argue that we argued last time that they weren't, correct?
Right.
But you have to be exposed to that information and seek it out in order to see a different perspective.
True.
So the question is, how could you know what your value system is or how helpful it is to your own cause if you've never questioned it, broke it down, or even rejected it?
Well, I would have to say From your perspective and the way that you're breaking it down, I wouldn't. But I have
This is a
chosen.
perspective. This is a perspective of how perspective is gained. I'm not questioning why your choices.
Yeah,
I'm questioning how a choice can even be made if an alternative is not given.
no, I understand. I understand.
Like if an alternative is not believed to exist, then why does a choice exist?
Mm.
Right? If you don't believe that there is a path on the other side, that there's only one road, how are you free? Then therefore you believe that you have zero willpower and everything is destiny? Meaning, do you
Absolutely
believe
not.
that?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so do you believe you have willpower?
Of course, I have willpower.
So why do you not exercise your will to know more and to broaden your perspective on why you exist? Yet you adopt a value and belief system without questioning it.
Because it's worked well for me so far.
Right? How so? Has it given you everything you've ever wished for?
I think that
You can honestly look at me in the eye and say you have everything you've ever wished for in life.
No, I don't. I
Okay.
don't.
So you said it's worked well for you so far. What is the worked well based on what perspective? Meaning, what do you consider well? It's like saying I'm rich. Okay. What do you define as rich? Like some people could say I'm rich, I have children. I would argue that that's not necessarily rich in the state of how society looks at wealth. Like
Right.
you could say I have a family. I would argue that that's an accurate depiction of having children, not necessarily being rich.
Well, what I would have to say is that I feel fulfilled. I have a family. I'm married. I have kids. I have a job that allows me to take care of my family. I also have been blessed with the ability to expand my mindset into other realms. As I know you say that I'm contradicting myself because as far as religion, I might not be doing that.
Well, it's not about religion. Religion is a big part of your life, I assume, because it's a driver of how you make choice.
Yeah.
Meaning, do you not? You said earlier you wanted to help people. This was a choice.
Right.
Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So it's based on your past belief system, which has been given to you by people before you, which was given to them by people before them.
Right.
So you're using basically 500-year-old methodology to decide current status without ever exploring alternative belief systems or value systems and to create a scale of value. How do you know rich if you don't know poor? How do you know wealthy if you don't know rich? How do you know values if you don't have a scale?
Mm.
How does a poor person know if they're out of being poor? How does someone know if they're a good swimmer or a bad swimmer? If they're the best swimmer in their high school and they go, I'm the best swimmer. Someone goes, your high school is the lowest bottom swimming team in the fucking ocean. Nobody can swim even half a mile, and yet everybody else is doing 10 miles in the world. And the guy goes, well, I'm the best swimmer or the worst. And he goes, that still makes you a shitty swimmer, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think
so how do you know the value if you're only stuck in your high school and you don't look outside the high school and go, what is a real swimmer? Like, what is an Olympic swimmer? What is a high school swimmer?
I think what it boils down to is us all having choice. When it comes down to my faith.
Right. But choice in itself is only available to human beings who understand to study and understand what having a choice even means. When you're acknowledging that you haven't studied or paid attention to the entire core DNA of what makes you who you are, or how you exist, or how you even make a choice, then every choice that's compromised after that is built off of basically a flawed system. It's like saying, I am the best, worst swimmer, so I'm going to go for the Olympics. Wouldn't we laugh at that guy? We're like, well, you haven't really done anything to deserve to be in the Olympics. He's like, well, but I was the best in my high school.
Right.
Someone like you might look at him and be like, are you joking? Like, why would the worst high school in the universe send a guy to swim school if he's that bad? But in that person's mind, without understanding, in his thought, he's wasting an entire life pursuing a career in swimming because of his misunderstanding of his value system, that he's actually good at something or bad. So my argument is that even choice in itself cannot exist if one does not have the ability to understand the core DNA of what makes them be capable of making a choice. And it comes with the opportunity to know and adopt a personalized value system, not one that was given by them. And I think one of the big mistakes that we make as a race is to believe that value system, which defined basically based on your religion and your previous belief, that helping each other was a big part of how we evolve and how we become better. But in itself, better is not defined here. And evolving in itself has no correlation to helping others. Not for everyone, anyways. So
But
you
when
see,
you,
that's the angle that most people aren't talking about. And these things are the things that are uncomfortable to talk about
mm,
because, in a way, people watching this may feel like it is an attack on their belief and their religion. And it should be, because I think that most people who aren't critical of themselves, right, who aren't critical of their own understanding of perception and reality, often are the ones going through life justifying their failure rather than truly progressing to who they could have become. You know that most people call themselves entrepreneurs when they yet have never created anything because they work a job somewhere or a business. They've built a pizza shop and they're like, I've made $1 million this year, so I'm an entrepreneur. And I would argue that that's basically being a very generic business owner, and that how do you even know making $1 million in the pizza industry is a good thing or not? You know, like, what if every pizza shop in the industry was like, hey, we're making 30 million. You're like, well, I made $1 million. That's fantastic. So I'm so excited. And you're like, I'm the best pizza owner because I have $1 million. And everybody else looks at you and goes, why is that awesome? Like, we do like 30 million revenue in a month. And you go, yeah, but I made $1 million. That makes me like the best at what I do. And it's like, what scale do you have to judge that? So again, like, just this misunderstanding of and this constant need for self-gratifications prevent people from progressing. Because if you think you're doing good when you make $1 million, when really based on your industry you should be making 30 to be considered good, how hard are you going to try to make 30 next? You're not. Right? So it's the same thing about everything else we do in life. So human beings, as take away your religion, take away your framework, take away everything you know, everything you've ever been taught by people who didn't exist in the same time you existed, and that's your blanket, your blank canvas, basically. And you can choose to be the byproduct of your parents or your past teachers, and then you forever remain in what I call a state of controlled society, which is you can never grow past the state of self-awareness. See, each human evolves in three basic stages: awareness, self-awareness, and consciousness. And the bridge between awareness and self-awareness is identity. And the bridge between self-awareness and consciousness, you ready for this, is creativity, which is driven by entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship actually stands for unity around creation. A lot of people don't know that. And they usually look at, yeah, exactly. So now if you believe you're an entrepreneur your whole life, how much will you try to create? Zero. Especially if you own a pizza shop and doing $1 million a year, right? So your value system and your understanding and your acceptance of who you are basically determines how far you can go or how far you can evolve. These are some of the mental constructs that we've been trained to accept that have basically kept us enslaved into a very, very sad future, one driven by how others accept us rather than the identity we create for ourselves, how others perceive us rather than who we become. And as a result of it, there's a lot of mental construct that takes place and hurts a lot. I mean, think about, you can't have a personalized identity if you're the byproduct of other people's work. You just can't. That's not how this works. Like, that's not how identity comes to be created. And the bridge from awareness to self-awareness is identity. So how many people have told you, oh, I'm woke, I'm self-aware, and yet they've not even mastered 1% of awareness, let alone self-awareness.
It's a lot.
A lot. Yes.
Whole
So,
lot.
right. So this is no difference than someone saying, I'm spiritual. See where I'm going with this?
I see where you're going. I don't agree, but I see where you're
I know,
going.
but you don't have to. What I'm questioning is not to give you an absolute truth, is that if you haven't questioned yourself and you can't answer these questions, then it is not to accept anything I'm telling you, but to simply reflect on the idea that without having questioned yourself, disvalidated yourself, completely ridiculed yourself to saying that everything I believe, as much as I believe it to be true, could be absolutely horseshit and a lie. then you will never find your own internal truth. That's the point. The point is that you have to negate everything you believe in life, only to be able to commit and convict to a belief that no one can negate for you.
Mm.
Do you understand what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So
I get
this
what
is
you're
the
saying.
point of a self-created value system that gives birth to true consciousness and true spirituality. And consciousness, very contradictory to what most people believe in the world, has zero to do with being woke. It simply has everything to do with an understanding and a construct of how time functions. That time is not linear from 0 to 100 and then to an end, but rather time is continuous, and your experience of time is all that has ever and will ever matter.
Deep. You went real deep on that.
Perhaps at some point this will trigger some negating in your own life that will require you to think deeper into yourself and question yourself.
It's a journey. It's definitely a journey. I would have to say
Absolutely.
that.
Yes.
I would definitely say that. With what it is that you, so for you, PJ, a lot of the things that you have created, it hasn't been to help people. It's more so for you to figure out how to make money, and helping people has been a byproduct of it.
No, I've learned my identity in the world. Was my identity in society was to be a business money guy, meaning I was a finance guy. That was my societal identity. During my self-awareness journey, I chose my cosmic identity to be teaching. And as a result of that, I became entrepreneurial in order to do that and started teaching from the experiences that I've had. Now, my teachings are for me to improve as a teacher. What I teach can serve multiple purposes. People can find value from it and make money from it. It's fantastic. Good for them. They can also 100% find their own realm of value systems through my books, like Third Circle Theory and Gator Choice. But again, I don't create these things for the sake of turning them into revenue or this or that. I create them because I believe in my capacity as a teacher. Now, that's where the content comes in. My content is never diluted. It is never changed as a result of how people will perceive it, like it, or anything else. And if you've been in any of my communities, you know how quickly I kick people out who tend to not follow the basic structure of what I teach. Now, it's not that they have a disagreement with what I teach, but rather the structure, and create their own model out of it. Right. Even if it comes at a cost of money loss or people not liking what I do, it still does not change anything, because I do not teach for others. I teach so that people who follow me really want to follow themselves and find the value in gaining from my experience and being able to just become better followers of themselves, not of me. Now, that's why I exchange that value against something monetary for myself, so that there is no expectation past the teaching. I expect no loyalty, because the loyalty was given by purchasing the learning. Therefore, I have no take on what I care you do with the learning or not. I know it sounds weird, right?
No, it doesn't sound weird. It sounds like you're very in tune with who you are as a human being.
Exactly. I've chosen because I've experienced and I've negated myself thousands of times over, and I've been able to find the exact purpose for my own, not only societal existence, but cosmic existence, and never mix the two.
And where did that journey start for you?
It started from the day I was born. It started from the day I accepted not to be a victim. That was the day I was able to move into a state of self-awareness. It started, it restarted again the day I chose to let go of who I was from a societal standpoint and what society was. I think the biggest trigger for me that mapped out my need to know more was not my neglecting of thinking society was formed against us or against people, or looking at all the flaws in the system and criticizing them, but rather understanding that society was always simply nothing more than a machine created to help people not thrive, which is where the misunderstanding often is, but rather survive, coexist, not co-help, coexist, to be clear. And people, right, people take that very, very wrong, meaning they look at that and they go, well, the school system was created to help you be successful. No, school system was created to help you find a place in the machine where you have an opportunity to try to be successful. It was never like, they don't put you out of doctorate school. Like you don't get a PhD and you're like, you're successful now, you got a PhD. No one gives a shit you have a PhD. You have to go practice medicine.
Right.
You have to have your doctorate and then practice the medicine for 10 years.
Yeah.
For someone to say you're an awesome neurosurgeon, you're the only guy that can fix nerves in the world, versus the guy that just comes out of school and is like, yeah, I'm going to make millions of dollars now. It's like, no, when you practice, you get really good at what you learned. You might make millions of dollars, but meanwhile, you're $1 million in debt. You have nothing and you got to figure shit out. So good luck, buddy. And the guy goes, well, this was a scam. Well, no, that was never meant to be. The scam was that you bought into the marketing.
Yeah.
Because what you wanted was you thought the world was about you, and you instantly kind of lost this phase that guy who sold you that plan, the world was about him too for himself. That's why I said we were never really geared to help one another. We're just actually very selfish creatures if you actually consider how we are brought, to not just our existence or value system, but rather how our DNA and our structure as human beings is always set up for self-preservation, which is why all these businesses are not really scams. They're just misunderstood. People are always like, these businesses want to help me. Nah, these businesses want to help you help yourself. Somewhere along the way, you thought they gave a shit about you.
That's true. I think a lot of people, they get onto these jobs, and even with my job in law enforcement, might make it seem like, all right, we're going to take care of you after 20 years. You're going to be able to retire. We're going to give you great benefits. And it gets people reeled in. It makes them feel like they can't retire, like they can't get out. Because if they do, guess what? I'm not going to get paid. I'm not going to get paid half of my salary.
I was just having this same conversation with a firefighter who told me that he couldn't leave for 4 more years. He hated the job. It was destroying his life. And he goes, I can't leave for 4 years because I got a pension. So the pension basically struck him in and kept him locked in that prison.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he's locking the pension in a prison because he doesn't want to leave something he hates doing. So it's like he doesn't want to, so it's self-preservation. There's nowhere in there. In his mind, he's pretending he's doing it for his family. He's really not. He's doing it for himself. This is the part that we don't want to face as humans, is that it's uncomfortable to be human. And comfort is a disease. And yet that's why we constantly seek it as a human race. We constantly seek to be comfortable because we were created to be uncomfortable and we don't like it. So we constantly seek these shelters. Safety, shelter. And these are the bogus words that have basically imprisoned humanity forever. How is people say that, working a job is like slavery? I agree. It's kind of the same thing, except that a job was never made for you to keep working it forever. There's idiots out there who think they've worked a job for 20 years and they find a lot of pride in that. They're like, oh, I've been at that job for 20 fucking years. And I'm like, you're an idiot. And they're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I make 500,000 a year. I'm like, still doesn't change anything. The point of a job is to gain skills and character so that you can progress. But what happens through that skill and character is that you earn that. And then your ego kicks in because you get praised for being good at something. And then you really like the comfort of the pay. Yeah. So someone else says, oh man, I got to pay that guy more or I'm going to lose that guy. And my comfort goes away. So the boss pays you more and you go, he values me. No, he doesn't value you. He's afraid to lose you because it's going to cost him more to lose you. So he keeps paying you more and you keep getting more and more comfortable. Eventually, you face yourself with this decision and you go, I don't know what else to do. I've been here 20 years. What am I going to do? Leave this comfort and these millions of dollars I made so I can go start something new? Well, of course not. By then, you are the slave. You're just living in a very pretty prison cell, but it's still someone else's cell and someone else's prison. And that you accept that or not is a personal decision. I mean, you can look at that just like you can say, I don't agree with you. I think I believe in my spirituality and who I am. That's fine. That person also believes in the same thing. They don't believe they're in prison. And if they do, then they deny to themselves to do that because it's not comfortable to then deny yourself that you're in a prison and you can't get out, right? Like, what's the point of Like you take MLM companies in the world, right? You take these companies, basically, you laugh at them, right? But I used to attack MLMs because they're bogus and they're wasted time and everything. And these people used to fight me all the time. They were like, the MLM's real. It's like good. It's marketing. It's this.
Yeah.
I was like, are you guys blind, or do you not read your own disclosure statements? Like, it's right there in plain sight. Like, it's not like magical. Like, I was like, it's factual. You can just read this. It's on the side of the place you apply, that 1% or less of the people there make any money. I was like, this is evidence from the company that you work at that you're not going to make any money there. And then I started realizing, so I started stopping myself from attacking these companies. And I started to realize, and I started asking myself and having very deep philosophical and psychological questions with the people who committed, asking about their back track record, where they applied for jobs. And the majority of them basically found themselves trapped. They never were good at following instructions and working a job because they never understood the purpose of a job. So they were basically unhireable. And they weren't skilled and qualified enough to start their own companies. So they were basically trapped in this space where their ego prevented them from working for somebody because they didn't understand the purpose of it. And their skill set prevented them from opening companies. So when I attacked, there's MLMs from this MLM is fraud or it's a waste of time. What I was attacking was someone's survivalship. That's all they had. So if they denied it, or if they fought me and said, this is not fake, this is real, I'm going to make it. That was the only hope they had. It's no different than attacking someone's religion. In their mind, it's their only hope for salvation. If you attack it and crush 40 years of belief, do you think someone's going to be comfortable looking in a mirror and being like, I've been lied to my entire life? And to accept that is a deep statement. And it's the same for these guys in business. When you look at life from a very one-sided reality that you've constructed in your mind rather than one based on negating yourself, it's a dangerous place to be. You're basically enslaving yourself and are afraid to face the reality that at some point you'll look back and you will see that it's not walls, but it's a cage you're in, and you don't see the door anymore.
Right. And one thing I've always joked about with one of my mentors, I've said that me having this job, I'm thankful for everything that is provided for me for the time being. But I've always said to her, I think of myself as like Harriet Tubman. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think of myself as being a slave, and me finding financial freedom and being able to move on to what it is that I was meant to do is me being free, is me escaping slavery. So I got to think of myself of being back in that era and using that thought process to allow me to be financially free, because I do feel that once you're in the system, once again, you get comfortable, just like in slavery times. They'll give you, sometimes it wasn't made comfortable, but other times they did make it comfortable. So you would feel good with staying on that plantation. You would feel good with being under your master's wing, and you wouldn't think about seeking more and bigger opportunities.
So you said you're financially free. What do you use to determine that?
No, I'm not financially free. I want to become financially free.
Okay. So what makes you financially free?
What my definition is of being financially? What's my number?
Yeah, what's the number?
You hit me with some bombs, man. For me, I don't.
You said you wanted to have a conversation about bootcamp. This is what the bootcamp does.
I want 10 million.
Okay, why 10 million? What does 10 million do for you?
10 million. Well,
where does that number come from?
Where does that number come from? It's a number. I got to be real with you. It's just a number that I came with from my head that I want to. That I want to hit.
What if 10 million still means you're poor and you can't buy any of the things you want? How do you know that's going to sustain you to being free and not just temporarily free?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know until I get there.
Right, but what I'm asking is, you said that's a goal. So why 10? Why not 100? Why not 1 billion? Like, what I'm asking is, where does the number come from? How is this determined to be financial freedom when there's no structure, the understanding where the number connects to reality?
I think I need to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I'm just asking. I mean, you said you wanted to be financially free.
To me, I don't have a number. I mean, I gave you the 10 million, but financially free for me is to be able to not have to work for anybody else, to be able to bring in a sustainable amount of money so that I can pay for my house, I can take care of my kids, send them to school, and not have to be a slave of a system.
Okay. What makes you a slave to the system?
That I have to depend on somebody else to pay me. That I have to depend on.
But can you not create your own company tomorrow morning and not depend on anyone to pay you?
I can.
So you would be financially free technically, even if someone else paid you. I mean, even if at some point someone else will have to pay you because they're your customers.
Right. But I wouldn't be financially free right away because I still need the money to help me sustain my lifestyle.
Why does your lifestyle have any correlation with your financial freedom?
Because I have to pay for my lifestyle. I have to
But
pay
how
for
do you know your lifestyle won't evolve as you make more money? Therefore, you will need even more than 10 million. Like right now, you have a house, right? You go to this nice house. I'm happy with it. But if I gave you $5 million, would your house stay the same?
No.
Okay. Wouldn't it require much more money to sustain itself?
Yeah.
When I was poor, my house was 300 grand, and I had a mortgage.
Yeah.
So when I renovated my yard, my entire yard, and wanted to build like a lake thing back there, it was $10,000. And I was like, where am I going to get that money? Right? Today, I have a tree in my yard that's $50,000 for just a tree. The landscaping is like $500,000. What is that? Does that not change the dynamic of the environment you work in? Like meaning the goal structure you have?
Oh, absolutely. You're spending more, you got to make more.
Right. So then are you ever free financially if you're constantly seeking more? When does that end? From a $10,000 backyard to $40,000.
You're crossing me up right now, PJ. You're crossing me up. But I like this. I like this because this is what people need. This is what I need. I'm being selfish right now. I need to be.
We all are. Don't apologize for it. This is the reality. You're accepting that we are selfish. It's okay. Like,
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I love it.
Do you do a lot of things you don't like? Meaning, do you wake up every day and you're like, I hate doing this, but I'm going to do it anyways? Like, I hate everything I do. Do you not typically look for things you like to do?
Of course I look for things that I like to do.
Exactly. So you're selfish. It's okay. That's how it works. Like, it's okay.
I mean, listen, we're the same age. You're 39, right? Not to put any business out there, but I feel like talking to you, you have like 30 more years ahead of me. How have you gotten to this point? How have you been able to look at other people's lifestyles and figure these things out?
I gave you the recipe. Negate your life.
Just
that is the recipe.
It's easy. It's easier said than done.
No, it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. And I've been doing this since I was 14. And one of the best things my mom ever taught me in life, because I have a single mother and she's still alive, thank God, and she's very healthy. One of the single most important things she taught me is she never gave me the value system that your family gave you. Meaning she told me, you don't have to do or be anything I was. And in order for you to be more, you have to be able to question everything I did because it didn't get us far enough. Right? And so it gave me the opportunity to investigate and choose every reality that I chose to accept. She didn't tell me I had to listen to my teachers, my bosses. These were the people that paid me. I should be careful.
Yeah.
I came home one day and I said, I hate my job. I want to quit. She was like, then why haven't you quit?
Wow.
And and it made me have to question that. Why haven't I? Right? And then she said, if it's because of fear, then you're choosing to be a slave to fear. So make choices based on the direction of progress you want to make in life, not on the things that hold you back from making that progress. You see, I'm a believer that the human race exists for one sole purpose. To progress through time. So I have that in itself is a 10-hour conversation. We only have like 10 minutes left here, but you can actually read this in Gated Choice where I break down how time constructs work for different dimensional beings. But If I've accepted that after all of my studying, all of my understanding, all of my backtracking, and all of the value systems I've studied and chose to accept and rescaled, negated, rescaled, etc., that my belief is that every human being was built for one purpose, which is to progress. And every opposition is set to keep us trapped away from progress. Not because it's like good and evil at war, or there's a devil and there's a heaven, but rather for the very basic example that man's construct was meant to overcome himself. So I believe we've created our own opposition cycle, coupled with an ecosystem that basically builds itself off of that, to create opposition so we can prove that we can overcome it. You know, like just like the military trains us, right, to know how to fight a war that hasn't come yet, right? Like it's like, hey, this is what you have to learn to do.
Yeah.
Right? They don't just send you to war and they go, you'll figure it out. This experience, you know, hopefully you don't get shot, come back. You know, like, and they're like, well, that didn't work very well. Nobody came back, you know?
Yeah.
So we basically set the opposition to overcome ourselves. Nothing about being a human makes any sense if you look at it from the construct of the internal. You have to start looking at the external simulation we live in with the internal capacity we have, and start seeing where the differences exist between your soul, your body, your spirituality, these traps you've come to accept throughout your life. And then you have to study the history of why these traps even were created. And then you have to start understanding everything you know to be fake and everything you think is real is wrong. And then you start constructing a reality based on true information and not fed information. How many times do we, I mean, I'm brown, you're black, right? We go to school and we're fed white history, right?
Yep.
The only way we can know the truth is if we study history, not just history we're fed in school.
Correct.
The only way you can accept, even if you choose to accept that there is a God or isn't, is if you actually start studying not the history of what you were fed in school by your grandma, by your cousin, or people in your lineage or heritage, but rather start studying the history of God as an idea. Where did it source? Where did it come from? Why? How are all religions intertwined in it? Not one religion. And start to construct your own understanding. And someone would say, well, even the material you use to do that, like books and everything, are basically built off of someone's construct, right?
Sure.
Which is why it's so important to study all constructs, not one construct, not just the guy who's talking about the Christian lineage, but how about the Muslim lineage? How about the evolution of that, right? How about even pre all of this existence, before Christianity even existed? There was a religion called Zarathustraism. Most people don't even know that a lot of Christianity is built off of. So again, a lot of this lack of understanding is basically like diluted down information. What you receive today is something that has been diluted down by 40 different people who each have their own agenda, which is why it is so important that if you truly have interest in committing your life to something, you should truly create a value system around it. And you shouldn't just accept the information as you've been given it. This is why the world is in such a conspiracy theory kind of loop.
Yeah.
And it won't get out of it.
Right.
Because at every time someone believed they were lied to, someone else created a construct for them that was a better believer than the previous one. You know, like it was something that made more sense to them. So they bought into that. No one has ever stopped and said, hey, stupid, go back to the beginning of time. Start to understand why you believe that to begin with, not why this new thing is better than the last thing.
Right.
Because then it's not really changing. You're just at the narrative of the next guy who has a better story, right?
Right.
And it's very dangerous.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I think also you have to have that foundation. You got to start from somewhere to continue to keep digging. Now, we started out with my spirituality, right? Not just to make this about me, but.
Well, it's okay. We talked about that. You're selfish. We know that.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
take it. There is no negative to that. That's the part that I feel that in your face. You get like, I don't want to be labeled that way. Like, don't say that. It's not nice. But it's not about being nice. If I say I'm selfish, someone goes, well, you're an asshole. Well, I don't live my life for you, so it doesn't matter what you think of me.
It's true.
Get it? Like it doesn't bother me if people are like, I was on Netflix, people are like, this guy's a dick. And I'm like, okay, I don't
Yeah,
live my life to be liked by random people.
that's true.
I live my life by my acceptance of the information I have and my choice of authenticity for who I am, not for how people perceive me. There are plenty of people, you've seen this all over the world, that hate me. And they don't like me. I don't care. It doesn't change how I am, what I do. It doesn't even have an impact on my money, and it doesn't even matter. So what I'm saying is, there is nothing wrong with choosing and owning who you are and saying, this is how I've chosen to live my life. And as long as your experience of life does not alter or hinder other people's experience of theirs, then no one has a right to come and tell you how to live.
Correct.
Now, if you choose to hinder everyone else's experience of life, other larger, more conscious experiences than yours will come and crush yours.
Mm,
And that's how this works.
very well
It's a
said.
game of progress. The most conscious control the world. The most conscious control the money. The most conscious control the world. And that's all it is. That's all it is. There are plenty of rich people who are not conscious, who have zero impact on anything. They live their life for their enjoyment and their distraction, not their progress. Why do you think with more money comes the need for more power? It's black and white. Because the more money you make and learn to make, the more you realize the intricate structure that the world is built in and how everything was built not on money, but on power. And that the systematic difference between winning in society and winning in the universe is that the correlation of power is money in society. Power is to the universe what money is to society. That is why both reflections are basically the same thing. The most rich are the most powerful.
Very true. Very true.
So if you start to understand how the world works, you stop trying to argue that it's not working for you. And you start to figure out what you have to do for it to work for the selfish version of you first, so that you can gain more power, so you can impact other people's experiences with your worldview, even if that worldview is highly flawed to everybody else. Now, this is very uncomfortable to hear, right? If you're a person that's been victimized by your own life, you're now struggling to accept anything I'm saying. You're probably looking at this video and like, I'm going to find this guy and kick his ass. You know, he's a
No,
dick.
no. Well, for
Well,
me,
I'm not talking about you. I'm saying
oh,
whoever
okay.
else is listening,
Yeah,
that guy's in his car is like, that guy has no idea what he's talking about. I hate him, and I'm going to go punch him in his face, and it's okay. It's perfectly okay. Trust me, you can get in
Yeah.
line. There's thousands of people that would love to do that.
Sure.
And it's fantastic. It's okay. Because the first place you have to go in order to start negating your life is to get triggered enough to hate where it stands that you want to change it.
Amazing.
I was in a basement. I was poor with a single mother. I lived on a mattress. There was nothing wrong with it. That's just a circumstance. I saw kids walking to school, getting on the bus, other kids coming at 14 with their brand new Camaros at the time, because that was the legal driving age. They had nice cars. They had things I didn't understand. We were in a basement in a rich neighborhood because my mom always believed we should be in nicer areas so I don't deal with drugs, crime, and things like that.
Go to school.
And even though we're in a basement, we didn't have much. Even though at some point in France we had a nice apartment, it was a studio. It was in a rich area. Get it? So it was a studio just in a good place. It was never a nice home in a bad place.
Got you.
It was always about location, right? It wasn't even about the real estate because it was rentals, but it was about just being around, surrounded by quality ways of life, to be able to witness that and never witness the misery and the pain that comes from lack of money, right? So my mom was very bright in that instance. But what I'll leave you with is really, you have to understand that that trigger for me was looking out the window and not hating on someone that had everything that I didn't understand or wish I had, or had a worldview that was different than mine.
Right.
It was me accepting that where I was on that mattress wasn't where I deserved to be or wanted to be, and that no one was coming to get me out of that basement? No one. And the only opportunity wasn't to go and find a quick way to get that Camaro, quick way to get that guy's life that I thought was extraordinarily better than mine. But rather, there was me, and there was the first step to being out of where I was. And here was a visual of someone doing what I wished I could do. How do I create a bridge from where I am to that first visual? And when I embark on that journey of walking through that bridge, I'm going to become a new person when I get there. And you can bet your ass that that's not going to be my final destination or my place that I feel comfort is. It's going to be my place to then see another bridge again and create another bridge, only to look back later and be like, I'm on the 30th floor. And while I built all the stairs to that company on the 30th floor, because they didn't exist before my existence, there will be jackasses at the bottom of that building looking for the elevator. And you know what happens? I never built one for them. So they're going to have to learn how to take the stairs so they can get to the 30th floor, so they can build more stairs, so we can build an empire together. That's even how the whole correlation of how working for others works. If you aren't providing the value, it's because you never learn how to go up the 30 stairs that someone else walked up to. Wow. And that, my friend, is how we wrap this up.
PJ, for everybody that focused and paid attention to everything that you had to say, if they want to tap in and go a little deeper, what are the name of your books?
The ones you want to actually read are Third Circle Theory, Radius, and Gated Choice. I've written 12 books, but those are the three you want to read if you want to question your reality and start looking at life from a brand new value system that you self-create. You want to start with Third Circle Theory. That's a book about awareness. Radius is the bridge to self-awareness. And then Gated Choice is the book to consciousness. Now, to be fair, none of these books are your roadmap. They're simply documentation of my own learning and understanding of the core concepts in the world that have always been there for me that I just didn't understand until I reached. So while I had to do all this work to negate my own life, I basically learned a lot that has enabled me to know what to pay attention to that I wish I could have paid attention to much earlier. As a result of that, I've been able to put together basically a roadmap or a journal of my own evolution and what some of these components were that people should be paying attention to. Nowhere in these books do I tell you what to do. I simply tell you where to look to perhaps help yourself enhance your own awareness and make decisions that are more aligned with understanding yourself than ultimately following in my path. Because I've always said, I never want to build people who want to follow me, but rather people who want to follow me so that they can follow themselves.
Awesome. And do you offer any mentorship aside from?
No, I don't. I'm too selfish for that. And I get paid way too much more money to not do that than to do that. So it would be a waste of my time to help create followers. And since I want people not to follow my footsteps, but rather just understand where not to set their feet in order to not lose time, it would be very, very poor taste of me to just tell people what to do through mentorship, because you can never be someone else if you're not of their character. So you should always find your own path, which is why I'm not necessarily a believer that you need someone to tell you what to do, but rather for your own opportunity to do.
Absolutely. You do have secret entourage though, right?
No, this is old actually. We stopped secret entourage quite years ago. I've always found that being in the self-help industry, you get to a place where people are unhelpable. So for the most part, you basically corrupt the industry to just make money off of people's misery. So I kind of decided to stop that. And I basically put out my learning for the sake of people who want to learn will find it. People who do not will not. I will be rich regardless. So make me richer, it doesn't change anything anyways.
Well said. PJ, thank you so much once again, man. I'm going to have to go back and really question the things that you are making.
That's up to you. Your life doesn't affect mine. It's a personal decision you make for yourself. But I think everyone listening should, at some point, start to question their reality in order to form a reality that fits their own progress better than the one they've been given. Yeah.
Very well said, PJ. Thank you so much once again, and we'll be talking.
My pleasure, buddy. Be well, okay? Take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Take care.